Well, the former South African Test captain, Ali Bacher, has lauded South Africa's all-rounders, and together with our own David Williams, has written a book about the country producing more great all-rounders than any other Test-playing country in the world. He's with us in studio to discuss this further and to actually pull out a business/leadership angle in all of this. Ali, lovely to have you in the studio here with us. Just to maybe elaborate a little bit more, the book is about 13 great South African all-rounders, but you've done it scientifically. It isn't a thumbsuck as one often sees.
No. We could be open to criticism. We don't think so. There's a lot of stats to prove that the validity of our choice, but I'm pretty certain those are the best 13 that have been produced in this country. We're not talking about wicketkeeper batsmen, but there's something else unique in South African cricket. In 1970, I was privileged to captain South Africa. We had 4 all-rounders in the one team: Eddie Barlow, Tiger Lance, Mike Proctor, Trevor Goddard. The late Hansie in the late 90s, Brian McMillan, Sean Pollock, Lance Kluser, Jacques Kallis. Now, other than the Australians, maybe in the 50s when they had Alan Davidson, Richie Benaud, Slasher Mackay, and early on Keith Miller in the same team, I know of no other country who had so many great all-rounders in the same team. You look at England, I mean, Ian Botham was a giant, only won the team. West Indies, only Garfield Sobers. So not only do we produce great all-rounders, but we have a tendency to produce them at the same time.
Why? Why did South Africa do that?
I can't answer it, but what a blessing as a captain. Mm-hmm. You know, you end up playing with 13 players. When in the late 50s Australia came here, we were tipped to beat them, Ian Craig's team here, because we'd had a very good series against England in South Africa. We drew 2-2, and we should have won that series, and we lost 3-0. And I was just starting off my career, and I remember going to train with Peter Heine and said to him, "Peter, why did we lose 3-0? He says, "Ollie, it was very simple. Because we had Neil Adcock, Peter Heine, Trevor Goddard, Hugh Taylor. We'd have them 60 for 4. And then come Richie Benaud at 7, Alan Davidson 8, Slash Mackay 9, and they'd take it through to 300. Mm-hmm. So that's the impact that all-rounders can have on the outcome of any test match.
It's so interesting to bring it to a business scenario, because in business, chief executives who've been great have often also been all-rounders. They've been highly competitive, people who start their own businesses, and yet the common wisdom, if you like, is get specialists.
No, I think in the cricketing sense, not the business sense, I think versatility, the ability to bat and bowl, to be a great fielder, I think all those are happening today. Purely just to bat and not be able to field, to be a wicket keeper and bat number 11, to bat number 9 when you can't bat, and then you can be a great bowler, is not part of world cricket today.
It's extraordinary, though, of South Africa's, of the list that the long list of the best in the world over this period. Of the top 14, I counted 6 South Africans. 6 of the top 14 all-rounders of all time are from this country. It's got to say something about the genes or the makeup of this nation.
Well, this country is, you know, it's a great cricketing country, great culture. It's been hurt badly by apartheid. It could have been even a lot better. I think the strong point of the cricketing schools, even today, they are producing the great school cricketers. King Edward, St. Stithians, Uffies, Grey College, Grey High School. 70 years ago, they produced the cricketers, and they are continuing to produce the cricketers.
Ali, why are so many of these all-rounders, and again, of the 13 in the book, 7 of them were captains, 7 of them were leaders? Is it because they're so good that the rest of the guys say, you take the mantle?
I think there are 2 types. Those that lead by inspiration, by motivation. I think Eddie Barlow was like that. You know, he was effervescent, he was bubbly, and he was motivating the team. And then there are others who lead purely by example. They're up front and they excel. I think Sean Pollock was like that. I think Trevor Goddard was like that. And certainly Clive Rice was that. Clive Rice is very, very unlucky because he's the only one of those 13 that never played one test game. And when I interviewed Mike Proctor in Durban, and I asked him about this cricket and that, and I asked him about Clive Rice, he said, given the opportunity to play test cricket at the highest level, he would have been one of the greatest all-rounders of all time.
It's interesting to unpack all of that. It is a fantastic book. I don't say that often, but it's one of those that even when last night I was desperately tired, I couldn't put it down. And really well done on that. The omission for me, though, was Hansie Cronje. Is that a reflection of what happened to him?
No, not at all, not at all. I think Hansie was a batsman who could bowl fourth change, fifth change. He could not have got into a test team purely on his bowling. All those cricketers, all of them, could have got in either as a batsman or as a bowler alone. Hansie couldn't have. He was a good batsman. He averaged about 38 in test cricket, but his bowling was, if you're in a tight spot there, you'd bring him on there. You could never pick a test team where he'd be your third seamer of a three bowling attack.
Which is very different to the man that you've got on the cover. There he is, Jacques Kallis. Interesting to see that Jacques is the number 2 of all time.
Well,
and only just.
I think very importantly, for SuperSport, I interviewed Steve Waugh during the second test match at Lord's recently, and I asked him about Jacques, and he said to me, one of the greatest cricketers of all time. And I said, Steve, of all time? Yes. I mean, his statistics, and you can't only go on statistics, are comparable to the great Sir Garfield Sobers. But I think Jacques would be the first to acknowledge that the greatest cricketer of all time is Gary Sobers. There can be no question about it.
And you got him to write the foreword for your book?
Yeah, look, I've known him a long time, great friend of him. I phoned him. He was only too happy to do it. I first met him in Rhodesia. There was a double wicket competition. He got a lot of trouble in the 70s. He was my partner. And I'm told by Lee Irvin, who was in the field, that when I bowled my first ball, because I couldn't bowl my granddaughter out, Gary had a look at me, behind me, at mid-off, and he burst out laughing.
And you've been friends for all those years.
Terrific. Now, I'm going 2 weeks' time to London. I'm going to be with him again. He's always been a great friend of South African cricket and a great friend of mine, and he loved Tiger Lance. When he came into South Africa, he'd phone me, what's Tiger's phone number?
There's a great chapter there about Tiger Lance as well. I don't want to give away too much, but I have to ask you this question from my colleague in Cape Town, Lindsay Williams, who says, what happened to Ali's Magic, the joint venture you had with Natie Kirsch?
The Ali's Magic dishwasher. Oh, it's a crazy story. 1979, out of nowhere, I'm in business for 3 years. We're doing volume, the margin's so tight, we're making no money. And then we came out with this magic dishwasher. And evidently, I think one of the big global companies saw us as opposition. So they had a trademark. And we had to go to court, and it became Ali's Magic Dishwasher. But at the end of the day, the business I was in, it was volume, 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 no margins. You just turned money over and you didn't make any profit. And after about 3 years, Natie came to me and said, listen, your factory is obsolete. I mean, I think back of that factory, the trade unions would have closed it down in 3 minutes. And they said, look, we'll get you a proper factory, etc., etc. And I just saw the volume. And there was another great story. Let me tell you about this. We used to sell vinegar to Chipkins. 5 litre vinegar, 87 cents. Can you imagine how many of these 5 litre cans you've got to put in a truck to get some volume there? And I eventually became the salesperson. And there was a lady doing the sales at Chipkins, and we didn't get an order for about 3 weeks. So I phoned her and I said, what's wrong? You're outpriced. I said, what do you mean?
At 87 cents.
We can now get in for 85 cents. I made my decision there and then. Natie, cheers. Let's sell this business. I'm going off.
Ali, lovely talking to you. And the book is like that. It really is. If you